Did you know crosswind-related incidents account for a notable percentage of landing accidents? According to the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, approximately 20% of all landing accidents involve crosswinds. One of the trickiest and most nerve-wracking landing techniques a pilot can execute is a crosswind landing. A crosswind landing is when the plane lands with the wind blowing across the runway instead of down it, as opposed to a regular landing where the aircraft descends directly onto the runway. In order to offset the lateral forces pushing the airplane laterally, the pilot must make precise adjustments. The intricacy of this maneuver, along with the possibility of abrupt and unpredictably changing weather, makes crosswind landings a real challenge to a pilot's ability and poise. Crosswind landings demonstrate both the art and science of flying, from the rigorous training pilots go through to the thrilling, frequently excruciating situations for passengers. Importance of mastering crosswind landings. In aviation, being able to execute crosswind landings is more than just a skill. It's a lifesaver in emergency situations. Imagine a stormy night with distant thunder rumbling while a passenger airliner gets closer to its destination. The wind suddenly changes and begins to blow across the runway very strongly. Scanning the black sky ahead, the pilot's hands firmly grasp the controls within the cockpit. The wind tosses the airplane from side to side as it descends, posing a risk of pushing it off track. Despite this, the pilot perseveres, relying on his years of training and expertise. They tilt the plane toward the wind, modifying its trajectory to counteract the gusts with steely nerves and steady palms. The airplane tilts against the unseen forces at work, giving the occupants a tiny jolt while they remain ignorant of the conflict taking place overhead. The pilot maintains concentration in spite of the turbulence, maneuvering the aircraft precisely in the direction of the runway below. Every modification is in deliberate action, a careful dance between the machine and the environment. The aircraft is then safely brought to a stop in the middle of the roaring gusts with one more maneuver before the wheels strike the earth. It is at this point that you realize how important it is to become proficient at crosswind landings. It's more important to focus on survival than competence. The ability to negotiate severe wind conditions can be the difference between life and death in critical situations, when every second counts and the odds seem stacked against you. Therefore, pilots renew their dedication to safety with every successful landing, making sure that every journey finishes with optimism and thankfulness for having mastered the life-saving art of crosswind landing. The challenges pilots face. Strong crosswind landings pose a significant challenge to pilots, requiring their full attention and ability due to the intricacies and risks involved. Precise control input is one of the main challenges faced by pilots when making crosswind landings. Pilots must use a variety of maneuvers such as wing-down and crabbing approaches to fight the wind's lateral push and align the aircraft with the runway while preserving stability. To make sure the aircraft stays on the specified flight path, these adjustments necessitate split-second timing and a thorough understanding of aerodynamics. Furthermore, crosswind's dynamic nature adds even another level of difficulty. Wind direction and speed can change quickly, especially in stormy weather. Therefore, pilots have to constantly adjust their approach and landing methods in the moment. This ongoing awareness is necessary to keep the aircraft from being caught off guard by wind shear or sudden gusts, which can cause landing instability and raise the possibility of a runway excursion or loss of control. There are serious risks associated with landing in heavy crosswinds. An error in judgment or a brief loss of focus can have disastrous results, including runway overruns, ground loops, or even runway departures. In high wind conditions, there is a considerable possibility of a wing strike, which occurs when the wingtip gets dangerously close to the ground during the landing roll. This can be extremely dangerous for the aircraft and its occupants. In essence, landing in strong crosswind is a high-stakes endeavor that demands unwavering focus, expert piloting skills, and a deep respect for the forces of nature. Pilots must navigate these complexities and dangers with precision and confidence, ensuring the safety of everyone on board with each challenging landing they undertake. Aerodynamics behind crosswind landings. Crosswind landings rely on a combination of aerodynamic principles and precise control inputs to safely guide the aircraft to the runway in the presence of strong lateral winds. As the aircraft approaches the runway with the crosswind blowing across its path, several key aerodynamic forces come into play. First, the pilot uses the rudder to modify the aircraft's heading in order to counteract the crosswind. The term crabbing into the wind describes this. The pilot makes sure that the aircraft's longitudinal axis is in line with the intended flight route over the ground by yawing the aircraft against the wind. In essence, the plane is traveling down the runway while flying sideways through the air. The pilot then employs ailerons to bank the wings into the wind in order to stop the aircraft from drifting sideways during a final approach and touchdown. Known as wing down, this method helps to keep the aircraft's lateral position over the runway by producing a horizontal component of lift that offsets the force of the crosswind. While the aileron on the upwind wing is curved upward, reducing lift and preventing the airplane from rolling into the wind, the aileron on the downwind wing is deflected downward, increasing lift on that wing. The pilot may make additional adjustments to the aircraft's attitude and control surfaces during the landing flare as it moves from the approach phase to the touchdown phase, with the goal to guarantee a seamless touchdown and rollout. For the aircraft to maintain directional control and offset any residual crosswind effects, the rudder may be employed. The ailerons are often neutralized to allow both wings to produce equal lift. In most cases, to offset the lateral effects of the wind and maintain stability during the approach and landing phases, crosswind landings need perfect coordination of the aircraft's control surfaces, namely the ailerons and rudder. Pilots must grasp these aerodynamic concepts in order to successfully handle difficult crosswind conditions and perform safe landings. A real-life example of a successful crosswind landings. The 2017 Emirates Airlines Boeing 777 landing at Düsseldorf Airport in Germany is a noteworthy instance of a successful crosswind landing that emphasizes the expertise and precision needed by pilots. The pilots' amazing skills and the difficult circumstances they encountered were captured in the viral video of this landing. Strong crosswinds are evident in the footage as the Boeing 777 approaches the runway. The aircraft is clearly tilted and crabbing into the wind to keep its alignment with the runway. The pilot performs a sequence of skillful movements as the aircraft gets closer to the ground, utilizing aileron and rudder inputs in tandem to resist the forces of the crosswind and keep control of the craft. As the airplane touches down on the runway, the pilot remains calm and makes accurate adjustments despite the difficult conditions. The aircraft lands gently and steadily, stopping without any problems and safely. This historical incident highlights the expertise, knowledge, and rapid thinking that pilots need when making crosswind landings. It displays their capacity to safely bring the aircraft to the ground and handle unfavorable weather circumstances, protecting everyone on board. The fact that the landing was successful is evidence of the professionalism and skill of the pilots who deal with similar situations on a daily basis. Pilots must have precision, competence, and poise when making crosswind landings. Proficiency in tactics such as wing down and crabbing procedures is necessary to efficiently combat lateral wind forces. Ensuring the safety of passengers and crew during crosswind landings is crucial, underscoring the importance of pilot training and skill in inclement weather. In the end, proficiency with crosswind landings is critical to pilot safety and the integrity of flight operations as a whole. Admirers of aviation improve your flying by using flight simulators to practice crosswind landings. These realistic and safe environments allow you to feel the rush of performing difficult maneuvers. For inexperienced pilots alike, flight simulators present countless chances for learning and development. Try different wind speeds and runway layouts to push yourself, and then share your personal experiences with crosswind landings in the comments section below to motivate and inspire others to reach their aviation goals. Together, let's go to the air and rise to the challenge of crosswind landings.